So today I'm going to show you what I do when I'm changing from these old flexible rubber brake hoses to some nice brand new stainless steel braided brake lines. These ones are from Atlantic British. They're like 10 bucks more expensive than the traditional rubber ones, so figured I'd spring for the better ones. Basically, I'm just going to run through it. I've already done the other two. There are 3 in a packet on a series Land Rover. There's 2 in the front, and 2 flexible ones to each wheel in the front, and then one that goes to the rear axle and delivers fluid to both rear brakes. So this is the last one I'm doing. Should be the easiest. Now there's a trick. If you open up the bleeder valve, and I use like one of this one-man bleeder kit thing, that's some old fluid. That's why it's that lovely orange color. I put that on there, and then if you open it up and then you push the pedal all the way to the floor, shove something in there to jam it all the way on the floor, it'll prevent leaks out of the system, or at least losing a lot of fluid. So it's a little easier to bleed later. What I'm going to end up doing is flushing the entire system later. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, so to start out with, you need to spin it to get it out of the slave cylinder on the wheel. So in order to be able to rotate the brake line, you need 2 wrenches. Well, you need to get it undone from the top here as I bump the camera. There's a large nut that's 5/8 inch, and then on the back, well, actually I'm going to break this hose loose. Nice and easy to do. Really should be using line wrenches, but I don't own any, so gotta use what you got. This one is actually 9/16. It's really nice when the brake pipes are bent nicely and they fit like right onto it. In the back, when I undid that, it kind of went sproing. I had a hell of a time getting the flexible hose reinstalled there, and I lose my lug nuts. I've got the fender off of this so you can actually see. It's a little easier to see than trying to film inside. Underneath the fender. Now this jam washer is again 9/16, and then the flats on the hose are 5/8, at least at this top end. Some of them can be different, but on this hose at the top, 5/8. Spin that off, drop it, and there was no there's no lock nut on there. Alright, now down at the bottom, this is 5/8 again. Broke it loose already. And then just kind of unscrew it. You can see what I mean by have to spin it. Goes to seal it. So you got to pay attention to that when you're installing your new pipe. Okay, so as you can see, there's a long end and a short end here, and in the kit, and pretty much any brake hose kit, there should be a new copper washer. You kind of just pull that one off. See, that one's actually got a sort of taper in there. Some fittings actually seal on the bottom there, but when you're talking on, at least on this vehicle, you need the copper washer because it bottoms out. So you just line her up, kind of just spin it, make sure you're not cross-threading it. Should go in real smooth, which it is. Spin in there until it's snug. Then take your 5/8. Just do it until it's snug. You don't need to really do it tight. I like to do about 2 fingers worth of tight on the wrench, maybe a little bit more. But the cylinders I've got on this vehicle, at least 3 out of the 4 of them, are alloy. I don't believe they're aluminum. They might be aluminum alloy. Not sure. Pot metal at least. They're not steel. So you can strip the threads out on them. That should be good, and the copper washer should seal it. Alright, on the top, get the cap off, feed it through. Then grab your washer, your nut and lock washer out of the package. Lock washer goes on. On goes the jam nut. Again, just make sure it doesn't cross thread. Trick that I use a lot is actually especially on fine threads, like when I'm threading on my instrument on my cornet, is you rotate it backwards until you feel it click and seat on the threads, and then you're free to spin it on. You want to make sure your hose is not all twisted or anything, so it will not bind when the axle flexes. Then 5/8 on here, and because I've got the ratcheting spanner, 9/16. Just go until the washer is flat. You should feel the resistance increase quite exponentially there, and that's good enough. Then you see how nicely that lines up. Just drop it down, make sure it threads on correctly, which it is. Again, let the conical faces seal when they bottom out. There. Shouldn't have to go too tight on that. Alright, just make sure nothing's loose and wobbly. Then just kind of go on to bleed it. Alright, I just raised the pedal on in the car. Now this is where a line wrench would really be helpful, so you don't strip that. Unfortunately, my socket doesn't quite fit in there. It's 11mm. There. Just crack it. And then let gravity do the bleeding for you, at least at first. So there comes some fluid. Now the self-bleeder is real easy to make. I've just got a old glass jar. It can be plastic, it can really be anything. Put a hole in the top for the piece of actually aquarium tubing. Now, this being an old crusty one, it doesn't want to fit over the head of the bleeder easy, so I just heated it up with a torch until it was nice and soft and shoved it on there. Alright, it's looking like the fluid's nice and pretty clear, so I'm going to go ahead and pump the pedal once or twice and come back and tighten off the bleed nipple. Alright, checking to see if there's any air caught in the hose. Doesn't look like it, so I am going to tighten it up until it's snug with the open side. Alright, that's just about snug. Pop that off, let it drain in, and use just tight. Doesn't need to be super tight. It should seal on its own. Has the taper inside there. So now I'm going to go check the brake pedal, see if there's any air in the system. And I think there is in the back. I don't think I bled it well enough. But anyways, I'm going to do a system flush of the brake fluid anyways, because I never actually did that. I feel like I should. When I closed the bleed nipple, what I did was I left the pedal down at the bottom of its travel. You can see I've got the pry bar there holding it down. Springs are a little shot on it, but okay, it feels like there might be some air in the system. Nice and firm. Yeah. Yeah, I think there is a bit of air in there. But yeah, that feels like a brake pedal. Nice and solid. And you can feel as the all of the wheel cylinders retract again, pedal comes up. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do the flush now. What I've done here, I've got the one-man bleeder system hooked up to the rear left wheel cylinder, which is the farthest from the master on this vehicle. I'm just going to kind of let that, I'm going to pump it a couple of times, try to fill up that jar, and then I'm just going to kind of go around all the wheels and keep pumping until like I get a whole bottle of fresh fluid through this system. Two. 3, 4, 5. Call that it. You gotta be careful because brake fluid will eat through paint. Okay. Go ahead and try and check the level in there. I guess I gotta just stick my head in. A little lower. Gonna top it off. Alright, that's that bottle gone through. Now this is an older bottle I've had open for a while, so I am going to fill that up with brake fluid, empty that one-man bleeder into this bottle and label it garbage and dispose of it properly. Alright, well that's the brake fluid in my one-man bleeding device. Supposed to be clear, but I will say that this isn't all just stuff that I've had today. I keep a little bit of brake fluid left in there when I'm done with it. That way I can just start bleeding brakes and I don't need to pour any brand new brake fluid in there. Just in case it gets sucked back into the wheel cylinder, you want to have some well, not totally terrible brake fluid in there. You don't want air in there. So, just going to dump this in that the empty bottle and go around and check and see how clear the fluid comes out. Alright, so today, hopefully, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to close that. They're like $10 more expensive than old from bleh.